Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to cut out Jiminy Cricket here from the Pinocchio cartoons, and the idea, we're going to cut out each white section. We'll paint them the appropriate colours and then stick them to a backer board which will be cut out the thickness of that black line, as you can see. Now, the different ways of doing this, on previous projects I will be tempted to put my carbon paper underneath and basically trace it on top of the 3.6mm plywood. You can draw around that with a pen and it's transferred the image onto the 3.6 underneath. Now, I've actually done that already to the backer board. Now, the backer board will be 9mm plywood. So all I've done was stick the image on there, as you can see, and I placed my carbon paper underneath, and we've just drawn round the outline. I have made these outlines slightly thicker for the backer piece, just to give us a bit of a play when we come to put the top section in. So the back section is already done out, as you can see from that, on 9mm plywood. So we will literally cut that out on the scroll saw. There's two pilot holes, one there and one there. Now, a pilot hole is simply drill a hole, we put the blade in there and we can cut out that section. There is two small ones on the hand piece here holding the umbrella. I don't think I'm going to bother with those. We're just going to paint over that when we come to do the black backer. So that basically is the backer board ready to cut out. Now, the top section, which is 3.6mm plywood, we're going to line that with painter's tape, and we've already done that. So we've lined the full piece with painter's tape, which comes in a roll like that. Most people, they'll all find their own way of doing things, but you literally just do your strips. Normally you would cover the full piece. I actually thought it was going to run out, but we've got plenty there. And then we just simply mark off where this is going to go. Anyway, roughly like so. I like to make that little hinge with the template so you can just flick it over once your glue goes on. So we're going to glue that down now quickly. So move that out of the way. I like to use a spray glue. There's that real on glue, should I say, what you can use. I think there's just enough left in here. Cover the full piece like so. I'm not too bothered how much goes on. It's not going to go anywhere. Then you lay that flat, and that's it. Your template is all ready to go. So basically what we're going to do, we'll cut out the backer first, and as we cut each section out, we can just pop it in place temporary, just to see what it looks like. And you can see there those small sections about the backer board, pilot hole in there and there. I'm just going to cover that in black. Not worth the effort. Okay, and for cutting out purposes, for me personally, pegas spiral blade. The teeth are spiraled the full length of the blade. And remember, with your blades, be them spiraled or standard straight, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. That way your blade is in the right way. The two other blades quickly are a pin blade. You notice a pin there at the end, both ends, and you get these non-pinless blade. These are what your professional guys will use. These ones come on your more basic saws. And I'm thinking, looking at this, you might be able to go away with using this on all these sections. But you might, we've got to drill a pilot hole there. To get in with a pin blade, those pins are going to be in the way. So pinless blades for this one. I have heard of people actually knocking that pin out, feeding it through the wood, and then using a safety pin or something to replace the pin at the top. Not something I've had to try before. So if you're going to purchase a scroll saw, get one that takes pin blades. Mine only takes pinless blades, should I say. Mine only takes pin blades. So I have to use these adapter clamps. And there's an Allen key at the side. And you obviously feed your blade through. You have to tighten the key up. Then you hook that top and bottom on your saw. So it's a bit more fiddly. So that's all ready to go. We'll start cutting that out afterwards. But for now, we'll pop on the pegas excuse me, number 2 spiral blade on the saw. Once we've drilled those 2 pilot holes, and we'll cut out the backer first, and then we'll just simply cut out the other pieces and fit them on top as we do them. Right, so we've set our Pegas number 2 spiral blade into one of those pilot holes that we've just drilled. Remember, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. I've got my little adapter clamp at the top and at the bottom there. We've took up the tension. Mine's at the back of the saw. On your newer saws, nice fancy twister at the front, should I say, locking device. Okay, so we're all set up. So we'll cut this backer section out first on the 9mm plywood, and then simply we'll move on to the top section and start cutting each separate piece out. Okay, let's start cutting this one out. Right, so we've made it all the way round with that Pegas number 2 spiral blade. So that's cut out, no problem. The only downside to your spirals is the little fuzzies on the back. Plywood's not too bad. If I just get one in focus, these little fuzzy bits here, look. And they take a matter of seconds like that to go around the full piece just to clear those little fuzzies away, like so. And on the front piece, I will be going round eventually and rounding off all the edges slightly. We're going to leave those 2 little holes, but if you wanted to, you could cut those out, but they're hardly worth it. By the time the hand and the umbrella goes in there and it's painted black, I don't think we're going to notice that. So you do have more sanding than needed with those spirals, unfortunately, but they cut really nice. I do find the thicker the wood, the easier the control and the cut of the piece. Now what's left is the top section. Remember, that's all glued down nicely, so we're just going to cut the pieces off and then we'll sit them on there temporary and basically fill this in. Normally if I was carbon and trace, we would still have this left over, and as I cut my pieces I would sit them on top of the pattern. So we alter things as we go along sometimes. Now I'm just going to remove all this outer section off camera, just to make it a little bit easy for cutting. Still got a bit of sticky on there, so I'm going to nip around quickly off camera, cut it all out, and then basically we'll start cutting these. Now they could have done with some pilot holes. There's obviously the ring there, we've got to cut that out, so we need a pilot hole drilling into the black section. So the smaller the hole, the better. And inside the mouth. But the rest of it, we can come in from the sides and cut it out. We'll just go along as we do things. And like I say, we'll pop it on the backboard and sand in every piece in between. Right, you can see from that I've quickly gone around the outer edge, basically just to do away with that spare pieces and that tackiness of that glue spray we put on. Now normally with your projects, you'll start off in the middle, get rid of the delicate pieces. I have drilled a pilot hole in there and one into the either eye, and I think that's only 3 pilot holes needed. Oh sorry, one into the mouth, so 4 pilot holes. The rest we can just come in from the side and cut each section out. Now on this one, I'm just going to start off at the feet, basically cut that piece out. I like to mark the back with a pencil, a couple of crosses, bit of scribble, just so you know it's the right way. And then we'll move on to the next piece, and so on and so on. Now I've just noticed here, we've got 2 black lines here, so I will have to drill 2 pilot holes to cut those sections out. And you'll find this as you're going round. But for now, we'll just start cutting this out steady, and then we'll see how it all puts together. Right, there's all our cutting done, top and the bottom. And as each piece has come off, I've literally got a bit of sandpaper and just remove those little fuzzies off the back. Once we've peeled the paper off, I walk around and round all these off gently, be it with sandpaper or even the little sanding drum on the Dremel, just to give it a bit more shape. But there's more or less our pieces intact. Now the only thing I may alter on this is the eyes themselves. Really I should have drilled the pilot hole at the top of the eye, and that would have given me enough room to go round. But as the backer is going to go black anyway, you might get away removing those eyes and just letting the black backer come through. But we managed to salvage them, but we'll keep them to one side just in case. But personally myself, once it's all been sanded down, we're not forced to use these eyes. This one has just gone a bit, unfortunately when I've drilled the hole, I've got to take that section off. It's minor, and if you want to, I suppose you could alter those to fit. Everything else I'll fine. On these lapel sections here, on the actual image, they look like they've been removed. What I've done to make work for myself is actually cut out the lapel bit there. So that was a little bit delicate, and we will just paint that a slightly greyer colour to the black jacket or the grey jacket or whatever we're going to use, and then just slot that back in there. Whereas on the original one, I think it just actually, I'll just show you quickly, I think it was just removed altogether and it was just an empty space there, like so. So don't be afraid to modify your templates as you go along. Remember those 2 little holes in there, they may reappear yet before the end of the video, depending how we feel. But for now, obviously we're going to do a lot of sanding down. With all this tape to remove, we've put that blue tape underneath, so this will peel off nice and easy. And there's your little first section ready to sand off and sort out. And just get this tape off my fingers, we'll be good to go. So we will give this a nice sanding down. Just round it off. Be careful with your plywoods. There are different layers there, and as you sand away, different colours will come through. But we're going to paint all this completely, so that won't be a problem. And some of these tighter areas we'll just remove a slight bit more, just so you can basically just see the backer board all the way around. And then we gently just move on to the next section, so on and so on. I won't bore you with the sanding down and removing all the tape. You know basically what we're going for with that. There's our little scribbles on the back, just so we know which way they go in. Okay, when I come back, all the sanding will be done and all the tape will be removed. Right, there's the last piece. So we've rounded all these edges off, and each one was simple sandpaper. We didn't use the sanding drum on the Dremel after all. And we've also rounded off the edges. It's worth doing that little bit extra, just so it takes all that sharpness off. So there's all our pieces done now. So the next stage is simply just going to paint all this. Now I've googled the image of Jiminy, and it does vary. Sometimes he's got brown boots on, sometimes they're light blue. Then he's got an orange waistcoat and obviously the blue hat and stuff. So we'll just we'll make it up as we go along, kind of thing. And you'll also notice there I made 2 extra eyes just to fill those gaps in. There was really no need for those eyes, because the backer will be dark enough to give the illusion of a dark-eyed centre. And I've also done couple of eyebrows to fill in those gaps. They're not the best in the world, but once we've painted those black, hopefully they'll fit in just a little bit better. Okay, so for painting wise, I would normally use acrylic paints, but I know for a fact I would have to go over each section 2 or 3 times to get a decent colour. So I'm going to go to my next favourites, good old Painter's Touch paints. We've got plenty to go at, and we'll make up the colours as we go along. These are ideal for outdoor as well as indoor, and we might just have enough of this nasty white left and the black to do everything else. Okay, so we'll go indoors now, and we'll basically just start painting this one up. Right, so I've used the dark teak stain on that backer there, simply because it goes on so quick and easy. Normally I would paint these black. We've done all those side walls, and we've also popped some on the back as well. So that's all ready to go. We also painted the other pieces, as you can see, with the little Painter's Touch paints. Great little paint. Just tap a bit of water, add a bit of water onto your brush every so often, and they do paint really nice. Now I researched the colours, and some images he'll have an orange shirt on, some he'll have a yellow, some he'll have brown shoes, it could be blue shoes. The centrepiece here was matching his waistcoat, some it were different. So I've got it near as I can. Some it was green, we definitely got him green, and some it wasn't as green as. So it does vary, so we can only get it somewhere near and take it from there. So the idea now is with the rest of these 50 pieces, as we say, is to basically glue them all, and we will pop them in place where they need to be. And slowly the project will hopefully come to life. There's a longer piece that goes in there first. That piece will go in there, and then like so. Okay, so I'll go away and glue all this up. For me, gluing wise, just a Loctite super glue. Any glue will use. It'll be usable, should I say. Excuse me, I've just come back from the shop, so I'm a little bit out of breath. And I pop on a bit of wood glue on the bigger sections, and it is just a simple case of tap, 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 like so. And then we come in with the super glue, do exactly the same. And then when you come to place it on your backer board, you have a couple of more seconds to move it about to where you want it in place. Okay, and like I say, we'll basically just fit all the pieces in as we go along. As soon as you pop those eyes in, it certainly comes to life, don't it? Right, we'll come back when it's all been glued together, and we'll just spray on a bit of varnish just to give it that nice shine. Right, so we've more or less glued it all down. We've got the one piece at the top. So I come in with my wood glue, as I said before, and just literally just tap it around like that. Now, does it need two types of glue? Maybe not. But that just gives you enough time to wiggle it about to where you want it. And then you come in with the super glue on. Same with that. Just, you don't have to be too perfect with it. Just make sure you get plenty on, like so. And we'll literally just pop it in place where we want it. A couple of seconds to play about, like so. That would do is there, I think. We press it down, and that's it. This is all nicely glued down. We'll basically go back down to the shed now, find some varnish, and literally just finish this one off. Right, so that's it. Everything's glued down. Now, for me personally, just to finish this project off, I do like to spray a nice clear lacquer varnish on top. One, it just gives it a little bit of shine. These are gloss paints, but they're just not quite shiny enough for me. So we're just going to spray the full piece, and it will also darken down those colours, especially the black. Not forgetting the teak stain on the backer as well. I will go outside with this in a minute, but for now, just gentle coats like so. And I will take it outside with less dust. When we come back, this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we gave it 3 or 4 coats of the 151 clear lacquer, and that's enough. Just give it a nice shine, as you can see from there. These won't be the better finishes for outdoor pieces. Remember, this is plywood, so I personally wouldn't put it outside. But for indoor projects, that 151 yacht varnish, any of those is perfect for what you need. And that's it. We are finished. So it's Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio. He comes in at 20 inches by 13, we're going to call this one. We cut it out on 3.6mm plywood for the top, and there was a 9mm plywood for underneath, and we cut the full piece out, remember, with a Pegas #2 spiral blade. That's just my choice of blade. Any blade will cut these kind of projects out. There wasn't anything too small that you wouldn't get in with your pin blade. And then we came in with the dark teak stain just for the backer board. You don't see a lot of it, but it just personally just finishes the project off. Originally I was going to paint it all black, but you notice that lovely black jacket there, so it just separates it a bit. Now the rest of the colours, painter's touch. I didn't have every colour I wanted, so Painter's Touch white, and I just mixed acrylic paints in with those, and that worked out fine as well. And like I just said, to finish it all off, a bit of clear lacquer is enough for what I want for my little projects anyway. And that's it, we are finished. Jiminy Cricket, cut out on 3.6 and 9mm plywood, painted with Painter's Touch paint. Thank you very much for watching.